The film begins by depicting a tribe or community living in suffering, with nearly all of them enslaved by another, extremely cruel group. Despite their plight, they firmly believe in the existence of the other world, a place they consider the origin of a savior. This savior is said to come to free them from oppression and bring eternal glory and peace. Remy is a man who works as a painting restoration expert. He lives with his wife, Lucille, and their two adorable children, Theo and Lisa. One day, while demonstrating some magic tricks, Remy suddenly feels as though he is sinking into his chair. He quickly gets up, thinking it was just a hallucination. However, the incident leaves a lingering impression on his mind. After that day, Remy frequently experiences similar events, not only sinking into the sofa but also into his bed. One day, overwhelmed by work and distracted by Theo and Lisa being overly active in his studio, Remy becomes so exhausted that he forgets to turn off the water tap. As a result, the next morning, his entire studio is flooded. Though seemingly trivial, this incident has a significant impact on Remy. He loses many valuable items, including his work. While trying to salvage the paintings soaked in water, Remy suddenly feels his body sinking. Not just into the water, but through the floor, as though something is pulling him downward. Strangely, he finds himself emerging in a lake within a completely unfamiliar world. After looking around, Remy realizes he is in another world with 3 sons. Shortly after, a group of tribespeople arrives, seemingly to witness his arrival. This frightens Remy, and he quickly flees. Fortunately, he is pulled back into the lake, and in an instant, he returns to his original world. Remy is convinced that what he experienced was no dream. Once home, he tries to explain the incident to Lucille. However, Lucille is entirely uninterested. Instead, she reveals something far more shocking. She has fallen in love with a colleague named Dr. Antoine. Lucille confesses that they have been in a romantic relationship and have decided to live together. Remy's misfortune is overwhelming. After losing his job, he now also loses his wife. Despite this, Remy tries to understand the situation, remain calm, and talk to Lucille about their relationship. To his astonishment, Lucille brings Antoine to their home because she wants to discuss the matter directly with Remy. There isn't much to discuss. Remy simply lets Lucille and Antoine do whatever they want. He promises to leave as soon as he finds a new place to live. Feeling the need to share, Remy visits his extended family. At first, they listen respectfully. However, their attention soon shifts to the favorite family member, who is always successful, especially because they have a lot of money. Feeling ignored, Remy retreats to the kitchen. He spends time alone, sipping coffee. But suddenly, something strange happens again. The family's beloved cat freezes, becoming stiff like a statue. Not only that, all the family members gathered in the house also freeze like statues. When he regains awareness, Remy finds himself in the middle of a forest, still holding the coffee pot in his hand. As he wanders through the forest, he sees a group of people slaughtering an animal. Hoping to interact with them, Remy approaches. However, after realizing something suspicious, he decides to flee when it becomes clear they intend to make him their dinner. Shortly after, Remy stumbles upon a large building. He enters it for shelter, even though the workers outside try to stop him. Inside, the atmosphere is dark and cave-like. Suddenly, Remy finds himself back in his family's kitchen. The strange event leaves everything in the kitchen in disarray. Naturally, the commotion brings all the family members to the kitchen to check what happened. Remy tries to explain, but no one believes him. Finally, as he attempts to continue enjoying his coffee, he suddenly collapses and loses consciousness. The next scene shows Remy visiting a doctor to check his condition. The doctor informs him that he doesn't have a concussion or any serious injuries, though there is a bite mark on his neck. Remy musters the courage to explain what actually happens, but the result is the same. The doctor dismisses it, believing Remy is simply exhausted and experiencing hallucinations. The next day, Remy returns to his workplace. There, the building's owner, an insurance agent, and the clients gather to discuss payments and compensation for the flood damage. While listening to everyone's chatter, Remy suddenly feels his body sinking again. With all his strength, Remy tries to resist, but in the end, when he regains consciousness, he finds himself in another world for the 3rd time. This time, Remy emerges from a basket placed on top of a large tree growing in the middle of a tube-like building. Members of a tribe cheerfully welcome him. They shout, encourage him, and hope he will descend from the tree by flying, as foretold in their prophecy. However, their hopes vanish when Remy lands face first on the ground. Afterward, they try to communicate with him in a different language, which naturally leads to numerous misunderstandings. But when Remy eats a magical fruit with an incredibly unpleasant taste, he instantly understands and even speaks their language. The tribal leader explains the prophecy of Remy's arrival as the savior who will protect them from a giant, evil, flesh-eating creature named Zotan. Zotan is known for killing and devouring anyone it chooses, leaving the villagers in daily fear. The tribal leader continues by explaining that over the past week, they have been performing a special ritual to summon the savior to their world. This ritual turns out to be the reason behind the strange events Remy has been experiencing. Naturally, Remy is utterly shocked. He tries to explain that he is a nobody and feels incapable of helping them. However, the tribe members capture and hang him, forcing him to reconsider his decision. Remy is then taken to a special room to give him time to think and plan his strategy. All the strange events he has gone through leave him feeling hungry. But when he picks up a watermelon, he suddenly returns to his original world. This time, Remy decides not to tell anyone about his experience, believing it would be futile. He then searches for information about the remote tribe, both through history books and the internet. Unfortunately, he finds nothing. Eventually, Remy realizes that the only way to handle this problem is by becoming stronger and defeating Zotan. On his next visit to the otherworld, Remy arrives with newfound confidence. He is determined to fight, so he no longer has to endure loss. The tribal elder presents him with a special sword. However, he decides not to use it against Zotan, at least not yet. The first step Remy takes is to persuade the tribe to move to a new territory. This terrifies everyone because there is a rule that forbids them from crossing the border. According to the rule, anyone who crosses it will be struck by lightning. To Remy, however, this rule is nothing but nonsense. He believes that God would never forbid people from traveling, especially if the purpose is for their well-being. To prove his conviction, Remy takes a woman from the tribe to cross the border with him. Seeing Remy's actions, the entire tribe begins to follow his lead. Their faith grows stronger that Remy is truly the one destined to save them. A few hours later, while still on their journey, the group encounters two of Zotan's soldiers. The soldiers command the tribe members to return to their original location or face punishment. Remy firmly refuses and urges the tribe to fight together. Unfortunately, the tribe's prophecy forbids direct resistance, leaving Remy to act on his own. Somehow, Remy discovers he has impressive sword-fighting skills, which amazes the tribe even more. Once the situation calms down, the people begin to collect the soldiers' bodies for cleaning. Remy is shocked to learn that the bodies are meant to be eaten. He sternly demands that they stop this ridiculous tradition. Though reluctant, the tribe members comply with his request, unwilling to anger their savior. Not long after, some members reveal that Zotan is planning to attack their tribe. This means a large-scale war is imminent. When Remy returns to his original world, he wastes no time. He begins reading books about history and war strategies. He researches battle formations, governance, and other relevant topics. After realizing that motivation is the most critical factor in warfare, Remy returns to the otherworld to apply what he has learned. There, Remy motivates the tribe members and encourages the enslaved people to fight for their families. One day, Remy decides to stay with the enslaved people and spend the night with 6 women. Of course, everyone follows the savior's orders. The women are even willing to do whatever he asks of them. Unlike what one might imagine, Remy spends the night merely talking. He shares stories about his life, losing his job, and how his wife, Lucille, left him. Even now, Remy admits that he still loves Lucille. Not long after, Remy is forced to return to his original world because Theo is upset, having just learned that his parents are separating. After calming his son, Remy quickly returns to the other world, only to find himself inside a basket. This time, however, the basket is in the middle of a battlefield with no leader in sight. Without a leader, the tribe is utterly defeated. Remy orders everyone to retreat and climb to higher ground. Once the instructions are given, he begins executing his strategy. The next morning, Remy provokes Zotan's forces by slapping, mocking, and throwing stones at them. As a result of his provocation, a third of the enemy forces are killed by arrows, and the rest are unable to withstand the sudden assault. Within minutes, Zotan and his troops retreat, unable to continue the battle. This marks a decisive victory for Remy, the tribe, and the former slaves. They grow even more loyal to Remy, who is now regarded not just as a savior, but also as a war hero. Remy is then crowned emperor. Using his knowledge, he builds villages, settlements, and a grand palace. The lives of those who were once slaves are transformed. They become free and progressive citizens. Even as emperor, Remy continues to paint. On one occasion, he paints his favorite concubine in a style reminiscent of the Mona Lisa. 6 months pass, and Remy's position as emperor begins to change him. Antoine feels threatened by this transformation. One day, the two have an argument after Remy grows fed up with Antoine's actions, which, though seemingly virtuous, ultimately cause harm. This time, Antoine allows refugees to take shelter in their home, further frustrating Remy. Over time, the throne seems to blind Remy. The man who was once kind now becomes arrogant, treating his people as though they were slaves. The citizens begin protesting, expressing that working under Zotan was preferable. Even as slaves, they were paid wages, but under Emperor Remy, they receive nothing, as everything is taken for his amusement. Remy is busy building a palace, neglecting the development of the villages. He tries to negotiate, but unfortunately his efforts fail. Eventually, unrest breaks out, forcing Remy to return to his original world. Sometime later, Remy visits Serge, a close friend he once told about the other world. Naturally, Serge doesn't believe him and assumes Remy has lost his mind. However, feeling concerned for his friend, Serge promises to lend Remy a studio to start a business. That evening, Serge keeps his promise, and Remy is deeply grateful. The first painting Remy works on is for a client named Delphine. From that moment, Remy gradually begins to return to his old self. One day, Delphine comes to pick up her painting. This isn't their first meeting, as they had met before, and it seems there's mutual attraction between them. They agree to have dinner together. One night, they enjoy a memorable dinner. However, during this romantic moment, Remy is abruptly pulled back into the other world. A tribal elder explains that they summoned Remy to fulfill the prophecy, to defeat Zotan in a one-on-one duel. Naturally, Remy wants nothing more to do with the crazy prophecy. However, he is quickly dragged and thrown into the cave where Zotan resides. After a brief but deadly fight, Remy, narrowly avoiding death, manages to throw a spear straight into Zotan's chest, killing the creature. Seeing this, the tribe members cheer joyfully, believing the prophecy in the ancient book has finally come true. Yet, this victory spells trouble for Remy, as the final ritual involves consuming him to gain his power. Realizing the danger, Remy flees into the forest to save himself. At the same time, the tribal elders destroy the artifact to prevent Remy from returning to his original world. Ironically, Remy is caught. Luckily, some tribe members who believe in Remy's teachings seize the artifact and throw it into a river. As a result, Remy manages to return to his original world. When he wakes up, Remy finds himself in a hospital. He sees Lucille, Delphine, and his entire family there. At that moment, Delphine learns that Remy and Lucille are not officially divorced. Heartbroken, Delphine decides to distance herself. In the following scene, Lucille admits she has realized her mistakes and confesses that her love for Remy has never faded. She also reveals that her relationship with Antoine is over and hopes Remy will give their relationship a second chance. However, Remy doesn't respond. He simply prays for Lucille's happiness. The film closes with the tribe erecting a statue to honor Remy as their savior. It also shows Remy visiting Lucille and their children months later at a beach in Barcelona. They spend time together enjoying a vacation, and the story ends.